Have you ever wondered why games today suck? Maybe it's because back then you didn't have to choose between groceries and video games because your mom paid for everything. Whatever the reason, we're going back in time to see what made games great before every woman in a game had to be a strong female character. Get in, loser, we're going time hopping. What would you do if Billy Gates gave you his credit card and told you to go and buy him a Coke from the store? You can get anything you want. I don't know about you, but I'd buy 20 million copies of Fahrenheit or Indigo Prophecy if you live in the US. I'm also not talking about the remastered version, I'm talking about the original, because copies are so last year. I'm just saying, Quantic Dream and Atari knew what they were doing when they dropped this game in 2005. It absolutely thrilled me. Speaking of thrilled, this game is a thriller, a paranormal thriller where New York City is stunned by a series of mysterious murders that follow the same pattern. Ordinary people become possessed and kill absolute strangers in public. It sounds just like a normal day in New York if you ask me. I heard people poop on the sidewalk there. The stock market report just came in and it told me that this game sold for $40 on PlayStation 2 and Xbox and $50 on PC. I don't speak finance, bro, but I do speak numbers, and the numbers didn't lie at the end of 2005 when the game sold over 1 million copies. The critics saw these numbers and they got nervous, giving the game generally positive reviews. It was a good thing that they did this because this steered Quantic Dream into the direction of one game which would later blow up, Detroit Become Human. Let's start playing this game before Billy Boy takes his credit card back. We start off in a dingy diner bathroom where our main protagonist of the game, Lucas, becomes possessed after listening to the song Rockstar by Nickelback on loop. He isn't just grooving to the music though, and ends up murdering a guy who was only pretending to wash his hands after using the restroom. Unfortunately, you can't just say oopsies and move on after murder, and since we are all now Lucas's accessories, we all need to go and cut our hair and change our names immediately. While you were supposed to do that, I went ahead and cleaned up the crime scene, getting constant reminders that Lucas was feeling depressed. I didn't have a tissue for his issue at the moment because there was an elephant in the room that we had to deal with first. The blood on the floor was actually there from a previous crime, but we decided to clean it up anyway because we are an all-around nice guy.
Dude, that shit sucks! Damn!
I then allowed Lucas to take a toilet break from all the cleaning because why not? He deserves a break. The true crime that happened in that bathroom was the sink being out of order. Was no one seriously going to fix that? If there was time to leave a complaint, I still wouldn't because I'm the one who just murdered someone, which to some makes me the asshole. It was clear that it was time for us to skedaddle, and by that I mean dine and ditch like all the cool kids. We then got introduced to the two other protagonists of the game, Detective Carla Valenti and Tyler Miles. The both of them were ecstatic to be called out to the scene of the crime that night, since crime is so rare in New York City. Carla started having an internal monologue about having bad vibes, which I paid no attention to because I was too busy trying to find the right photo to prove that she looked almost identical to Lara Croft. It was time to start our investigation, so we went inside to talk to the cop that found the body.
So, what happened?
Homicide. I found the body in the toilets.
After he told us that he had found the body of the victim in the toilet, we then spoke to the waitress Kate, who couldn't really give us any valuable information on the victim, whose name was John, who coincidentally was also found on the John. You might be wondering what Tyler was up to while Carla was doing all the detective work. Well, he was on the phone with his girlfriend, and she was upset.
I won't be long, baby. Go back to sleep. I'll be there when you wake up. Catch you later.
It turns out he was just calling her awake to tell her to go back to sleep, which to me seemed like a pretty good use of police time and resources. Carla then reminded him that they had to go and see the John on the John. In the bathroom, she pulled out her smartphone and started playing on it. I think I bought a bootleg modified copy of the game because I don't remember smartphones being around in 2005. I guess the police back then had to have technologies ahead of our time to take pictures of the crime scenes under 2-megapixel cameras. After having a look at the body, murder weapon, and bloodied scene, it was time for us to check ourselves out and give each other a pat on the back. We actually didn't contaminate the scene that bad for it being our first case. I don't know about you, but I was ready to call it a day. The next morning at Lucas's apartment, Lucas realizes that the happenings of the previous night was no dream. There ain't no rest for the wicked though, as Lucas needs to start getting ready for work.
Oh, my head. Feels like somebody shoved a steel bar in my brain and then melted it. Gotta make it stop.
It turns out that he is very descriptive with how he's feeling, which is very refreshing coming from a man. He also cleans up after himself, which seems to be the package deal. If it wasn't for the murder, I'd say he might be the one for me. Lucas cleaned himself up just in time for a cop to show up at our door, telling us that our nosy neighbor had left a complaint that they heard us screaming. Lucas replies saying Nanya, to which the cop then demanded to have a look around our apartment. I wonder what would have happened if we never picked up after ourselves. Maybe the cop would have offered to clean and then we wouldn't have had to do it. What a bummer, but we decide not to be sad about it all day and rather go to the park to meet up with our brother Marcus, who's a priest who was watching the children play. I never had a brother, so I hoped he'd give us a noogie and shove our face down the toilet, like brothers do.
I am a priest, Lucas. The fact that you have taken a life is a very serious matter.
I told you that it wasn't me, Marcus. All these years and nothing's changed. You still never listen to me.
Lucas, don't ask me to make a choice between my faith and my brother.
He was not cool like that though, and decided to judge us for small things like murdering people and becoming possessed. He might be a priest, but to me he is now deceased, as we don't need that kind of negativity in our lives right now. Lucas storms off and gets a vision of Dudley from Harry Potter falling into the icy lake and dying. Lucas is caught between two worlds because the same cop from the diner is approaching him. We save the kid, but only because we like being the center of attention. The cop recognizes us, but because we just saved a kid, he feels pity for us and lets us off the hook. We then play with Carla again, who is a real stick in the mud back at the station, as she gets really tense every time someone approaches her. She decides to then call Tyler, who was still asleep.
Yeah?
Know what time it is?
Oh, shit.
Why she called him on the landline, I would never know. But what I do know is that we never see her use her fancy-pantsy smartphone again. Maybe it got lost in the timeline, which is Tyler's apartment, which was highly decorated to resemble the 70s disco era. His girlfriend then wakes up and he immediately gets tense. It's almost as if he could sense the argument she was about to start about that time he cheated on her in her dreams.
Why couldn't we just go to Florida and work with my family and live a normal life like everybody else?
Tyler doesn't want to move to Florida though, because he heard that people poop on the streets there, and leaves to work with nothing but the hole in the back of his head that his girlfriend Sam stared into him. Back at the station, Tyler gets called out by the guy he borrowed $100 from to redecorate his apartment. He tells the guy that it's not a big deal, and instead of wanting the money back, he should play a game of basketball against him for double the amount.
All right, you're on. But don't even think about not paying me if you lose.
Jeffrey's threat sounded serious, but Tyler had already gotten his free estimate from wantabiggerd.com, so he knew that he had the upper hand when it came to beating him in a game of D-ball. The IT department came to take Tyler's work laptop away, and so we had no choice but to go and meet up with Carla, who was getting the lab results back from Garrett. Carla lets us know that it was a good time to go and visit the coroner. Before doing that though, Carla decides to check her email to see if she received her free estimate from wantabiggerd.com, but with no luck. There was a suspicious email talking about someone named Kirsten, but it's probably just Jeffrey playing jokes on us. At the coroner, we find out a little bit more about the death of the victim John, and this weird puzzle thing came up that I kept failing. At this point in the game, I was kind of getting frustrated with the lack of instructions into how the controls work, which indicated to me that I should have done the introduction mission first, but I choose the struggle life. The struggle life does not choose me. The coroner goes on to tell us that he had seen a case like this before in the 90s. The victim's name was Kirsten, but it didn't ring a bell to me. I think I need to go see a doctor because it turns out I have a pretty short memory, when right after I had to create a composite sketch of what Lucas looks like, and I made a guy that looks like anybody but him. I had no memory of ever seeing that man in my life, and even the game mocked me of my poor performance.
Much for your help. We're gonna get this picture out to all the airports, trains, and bus stations, and to all of our patrolmen. If this guy is still in New York, we're gonna find him. And go buy yourself a video game.
I don't think they're going to find him based on that sketch, but I will take up Tyler on his offer to go and buy myself a video game. He's right, I deserve it, and so do you. Meanwhile, Lucas is also at work as a computer maintenance guy. He never shared that chainmail text which warned him that he'd become haunted, and so the ghosts of the internet started chasing him around the office. He gets sent home, and it turns out that he didn't decorate his apartment like the inside of a burnt toaster on purpose, as his ex-girlfriend pays us a visit to pick up her things. Lucas ends up thinking that she wants his body and tries to kiss her, but she didn't like the tuna mayo sandwich on his breath and rejected us.
I need some more time to be alone.
After the shitty day he had, Lucas tried to cheer himself up by playing the guitar, but just like our luck when it comes to dating, it's terrible. He then has a vision about his childhood where he was stuck on some military torture camp and had to go and save his brother from a burning base. His brother also had 3 annoying and honestly rude friends who we also could go and save if we wanted to. I couldn't see their futures being very bright since you could clearly hear the fires getting louder, yet none of them thought to run away.
What are you doing here, Lucas? Get out. Nobody wants to play with you.
So I instantly regretted the effort I put into saving their lives. While that was going on, Tyler and Carla takes a break from not saving lives and decides to have a boxing match over chocolate versus sprinkled donuts. Sprinkled donuts won, of course, but let me know which one you think would win in a fight. It turns out that Lucas is a theater geek, and Tyler had to go and find research on a Shakespeare book he was reading at the diner, while Carla went to the dingy police storage room to find information on Kirsten. Just like how Lucas is now forever scared of women, Carla is scared of dark and tight spaces. So we had to work extra careful just to stop her from freaking out and running away.
I can't take it. It's just too much for me.
We finally find the file on Kirsten, which leads us to a detective who won't tell us anything about the case unless we impress him by shooting blanks.
Excellent target.
He ends up telling us to drop the case as it was the devil's business.
Everything is the devil to you, mama!
The real devil was Tyler, who played that game of b-ball against Jeffrey in his latest scam to get out of his previous scam. They both were dressed pretty skimpy for it being winter and all, but I guess hoes never get froze.
You're a real SOB, Tyler.
I know, and that's why you like me, Jeffrey.
Lucas was back to being dramatic and acting like the world revolves around him. He visits this old lady Rose, who he was told could help him, but it turns out that he's the one helping her, as she only wants him to feed her birds for her. Just kidding, she does a seance in which Lucas goes back to the night that he did that thing we won't mention. And this time we get to see him get possessed by the power of greasy foods. Old Lady Rose then tells us to come back the next day, but tomorrow never came for her, as later that night she got taken out like old fridge food. Carla doesn't get taken out though, but she should, because she is the type of person that only takes one bite of pizza and then claims that they're full. Because of her psychotic behavior, the only date she's getting is the one where her friend visits her, just to do a tarot reading that tells her that she's going to die horribly and maybe end up alone. I would be the one to murder her, because the way she ate that pizza bestowed me with great suffering and fear for generations to come. Tyler is still at the station and sees that there is a watermark on a placeholder that he found in Lucas's Shakespeare book. The watermark leads them right to the bank where Lucas works, but I'm sure it's just a coincidence. He then calls up Carla with the power of magic, and she decides to go and interview Lucas the next day. During the conversation, Lucas starts seeing that thing that starts with an L word and ends with an E. I don't have to state the obvious when I tell you that this immediately raised red flags with Carla, who started snooping around his office just to find the other piece of torn watermark paper that we found in the book. At this point in time, it was pretty obvious that they had found their guy. It landmarked the first ever case solved in New York City, and they were branded Euros. Not yet, of course, but they had already ordered the party balloons for the award ceremony that they knew they'd get and that they knew that taxpayers would be paying for. Tyler started celebrating already with his girlfriend Sam, and I swear to you, this piece had the longest dance scene I've ever seen in my life. There was no reason for them to make this date mission so long, but hey, they had to make use of those dance animations somehow. It was very awkward, especially since they were dancing without any music on. Carla then called Tyler to tell him to come over to the station, and it felt like she was intentionally crock-blocking Sam at this point. Lucas and Sam should get together at this point, as they both were used to getting rejected by their partners.
What about me? I'm not important? Tyler!
If only Lucas wasn't so busy hallucinating that his whole apartment building was falling apart around him. Imagine the things he'd be able to get done. He might even finally be able to unpack all those boxes that was just randomly placed around his apartment. Just like Lucas, I like a good cliffhanger, which is where we will end off and transition into our next part, the review. I'm not going to lie to you, this felt like one of the best games I've ever played, but unfortunately it would never beat my love child, Watch Dogs 2. But we're not talking about my love child, we're talking about Fahrenheit. So get lost, Celsius. I'm sorry, I had to sneak in that joke somewhere in this video. I won't be focusing on factors such as soundtrack, audio, or graphics because that is for noobs, and these days any game can impress noobs by making a game that looks and sounds great, but generally sucks. If it weren't for the controls, which were a bit janky at times and difficult to figure out, I would have rated this game a lot higher. But if you can get past the controls, the game starts to control you. Just kidding. That only happened to me, but the game itself did pull me in through such a nail-biting story, in an environment where the characters felt real and relatable, and I honestly just couldn't stop playing. I'm coming back to the characters because they felt so real and they themselves were flawed. I don't know about you, but I hate a can-do everything perfect character. I could generally pick out their individual personalities, which built that player-character relationships where I felt like I could actually know them in real life. The game also felt flawlessly planned out. I love the fact that not only your dialogue choices had consequences, but also your actions. It really added another dimension to the game, and I personally appreciated the level of thought and detail that the developers put into the story and game loop. The cinematics of this game was also next level, but it wasn't only because it was well done, it was also because the cinematics actually matched the plot of the game. Not once did a cutscene feel pointless or made me just want to smash the skip button. There was also no bugs, and the game, controls aside, was flawless. It never felt like there were things or missions or characters added that didn't belong in the game just for the sake of gameplay. I will probably be playing this again and again because it absolutely killed it. Overall, I think it was an absolutely great game that fully incorporated all the elements required for it to be a great game. Anyway, let me know if you want a part 2 on this game, which I'd probably play in a more reactive style instead of in the form of another overview. Also, let me know what you thought of Fahrenheit when you played it, or if you would play it again in the future. Also, let me know what game you want me to play next, and if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. That's it for me. I'll see you again later sometime and someplace with another video, and until next time, bye!
Ugh! Earwax flavour?